Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, a professor of veterinary medicine, 3 others die in a suicide attack in University of Maiduguri. Bring Back Our Girls campaigners take a break from the Unity Park in Abuja, join in a guided tour to the northeast. Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo recommends special development status for the Niger Delta, also wants community to look beyond oil. And Turkish cargo plane crashes in Kyrgyzstan, over 30 killed.
On business news tonight, International Monetary Fund forecasts Nigeria's economic growth at 0.8% by the end of 2017.
And on sports news tonight, Swiss maestro Roger Federer makes winning return to tennis at the Australian Open with a 4-set victory over Austria's Jürgen Melzer.
And from Abuja, I'm Linda Akibe. Federal government assures on dollar exchange rate as it defends its decision to centralize financial dealings. Says the Treasury single account has brought creativity into banking.
We begin tonight with a suicide attack which shattered the peace in the University of Maiduguri, Borno State. A professor of veterinary medicine and 3 others were killed in the twin blast. Eyewitness reports say one of the attacks was carried out by a 7-year-old boy. Our correspondent Blessing Tuna reports.
6 years of insurgency in the northeast, this is the first time that a suicide bomber is able to successfully penetrate the university gates.
We are now in a guerrilla war situation. In the mosque, you don't know who is praying next to you. In the church, you don't know who is sitting next or praying next to you. Even in a hold-up, you don't know who is parking. So people should be very wary of people around them and be more security conscious.
Today's incident is a hard one on the university community because a professor of veterinary medicine was lost in the incident, and this is coming at a time when students are writing their end of first semester examinations.
This is the first time we recorded a suicide bombing in the university premises. Even during the hard times, there was never a time something like this happens inside the university. So it's very unfortunate. There are about 15 that sustained injuries that were evacuated by joint team of State Emergency Management and the National Emergency Management Agency to the hospital, and they are now adequately responding to the treatment. And the other suicide bombers were not able to penetrate into the university, so she was shot down and really lost the suicide bomber. So far I think there is need for us to improve the security vigilance across the university premises.
Security operatives are asking the public for support and collaboration until the insurgency problem is collectively brought to an end. Blessing Tunu, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the President has commiserated with families of the victims, the university community and the government of Borno State. President Muhammadu Buhari in strong terms condemned the attack, describing their acts of terrorism as being cowardly, criminal, unjustifiable and punishable before God and the laws of the land. He gives the Northeast the assurance that his administration will see to it that terrorism never triumphs and asks Nigerians to remain vigilant as security agencies continue to battle the remnants of insurgents and their sponsors. Today's attack on the University of Maiduguri is one of several carried out by terrorists in January alone. In our next report, we take a look at the series of attacks launched against defenseless Nigerians in the northeast.
Residents of Borno State are in shock over the attack on the University of Maiduguri, being the first count in that community. But this is not the first suicide bombing attack in other parts of the northeast. Despite some respite experienced at the end of 2016, in early January, on the 4th, 3 female suicide bombers attempted an attack on a market in Bakindusi, Madagali in Adamawa State, but were stopped. About 4 days later, 3 male and 2 female seaside bombers were killed in 2 separate attacks in Muna Garage and Kaleri villages in Maiduguri, Borno State. Madagali in Adamawa State became a target again on the 13th of January, when 4 suicide bombers detonated explosives near a motor park, killing 9 people and injuring many more. Suicide bombing is one of the tactics adopted by terrorist group Boko Haram in the insurgency crusade, which started about 8 years ago. The new wave of attacks after the decimation of the terrorists are deemed attacks on soft targets by a group largely defeated by the Nigerian troops.
With today's brazen attack on the University of Maiduguri, some questions are begging for answers. One of which is, how did the suicide bombers beat security? Joining us to look at this is the Chairman, ASIS International and retired officer of the Department of State Security, Mr. Sheyi Adetayo. Thank you so much for joining us on the news at 10.
The pleasure is mine.
And you've worked largely in the northeast axis during your days at the DSS, so it's good that we have you in the chair this evening. Thank you for coming. There seems to be a trend. I mean, looking at the attacks that we've had this January alone, you know, you have a suicide bomber detonating IEDs in multiple locations. What should the response be now?
Well, as it is now, the government should still continue to improve on what they are doing presently to ensure that they continue to get more intelligence. Especially the need to build synergy among the security agencies so as to be able to work together on the intelligence that they have. It's situations whereby a particular agency is sitting solely on it will not really help them to be able to utilize what they have now, because each agency have their own limitation. The military have their own limitation. Largely, when we're dealing with situations like this, it's largely intelligence-based, and the organization with our resources is the DSS. So the more information they have at their disposal, the better for them to be able to do their job very well. But we also need to understand that, you see, this is just what is symptoms of, you know, when you are dealing with organizations like this and you likely be, I mean, you've likely decapitated them to this level, what you start seeing them is attacking soft targets like we have seen today. And don't think it will be wrong for us to think that we can just wish this away. Now, those people have means of raising funds. They will continue to raise, as we're speaking, they are raising funds. And these funds are channeled into 3 major areas that I call raw. Recruitment, armaments, and then welfare. So they'll be recruiting them more, they'll be buying ammunitions, and they'll be providing welfare for their members. How did
they do this? If, you know, we had said that, okay, they're out of the Sambisa forest, and, you know, in that particular area that we knew that where they were. So you're talking about a situation where they are still regrouping and still doing everything that they've been doing all along? Yeah,
just like every other terrorist organization in the world, they have various means of getting money. They kidnap, they rob, you know, they go on rampage, clear communities, steals from them, and they still have connections with other groups that are providing resources, and other people within the society that are big shots that really don't know them yet, that find a way of channeling funds or resources to those people. I mean, it will surprise. I mean, to me, it won't surprise. I won't be surprised, you know, when you see people, multimillionaires that are sharing the same ideology as those people, and it might not even be Nigerians. There might even be people from other countries that believe that what those people are propagating is the right thing at this moment.
If you say the battle has moved to soft targets, cells, for instance, how do we then handle this type of battle? You know, we always seem to be reactionary. I'm sorry to bring it up again, but each time we talk about security, it happens, we'll count how many have gone, it happens again. So if the battle on their side has shifted, what are we doing differently?
Okay, the DSS came up with a report like about a week ago telling Nigerians the number of people, Boko Haram suspects, they arrested in Lagos and some other states. Ordinarily, we wouldn't have known this if they didn't come up with such report. And that's to say, I mean, that's to show that such operations must be, going around in the country. As in Canada, they must have been carrying out such operations over time, and they're arresting people that are actually not talking. Now, if those people weren't arrested and they succeeded in carrying out those attacks, we'll count them among the ones we've already, recorded. So now they've been able to remove those ones. Now those ones, we aren't seeing those as plus for them. You see, if they are planning 20 attacks, you're able to stop 19, and they succeeded in carrying out one, people won't see that 19, only see that one. That is not to say that they still don't have more, need for improvement in what they're doing. But the truth is that they are working, and when you are dealing with situations like this, trust me, no nation so far that I've seen from my own study of terrorism globally that have been able to come out clean after going through what we're going through. France, they are still battling it. Italy, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Sudan, Somalia, just name it. They are still facing the same issue. And we just have to continue to learn from our mistakes to see how to close up on those gaps that we've been able to create. More importantly, politicians within that particular area, they need to do more. They need to support the government more and put politics aside. I think they are doing better than the way they were like 2 or 3 years ago. All right. A retired officer of the Department of State Security, Mr. Sheyi Adetayo, thanks for sharing your thoughts on this issue on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much. In the meantime, the Nigerian army has continued their mop-up operations in different parts of the northeast. The troops are patrolling the general area of Baga, Kangarawa, in order to intercept any fleeing Boko Haram terrorists. And in the course of doing this, troops of 119 Task Force Battalion of 7 Brigade came across graves of Boko Haram terrorists that escaped with gunshot wounds and died after an encounter on January the 13th, and they were buried in shallow graves. A statement that was signed by the Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Sani Usman, says the troops also recovered a 36 hand grenade and one 12.7 round of ammunition concealed by the terrorists. Still talking about security, this time from the Nigerian Airforce, and it says it struck Boko Haram's new hideout in south of Tumbumrego in northern Borno state. In a statement accompanied with videos of the bombardment, the Nigerian Airforce explained that its fighter jets assaulted the location in a coordinated day and night operation following intelligence reports. It says the reports showed that Boko Haram insurgents who attacked troops at Kangarawa on the night of January the 12th had withdrawn to the said location. The Nigeria Air Force adds that in the bid to deny the insurgents the opportunity to regroup and launch attacks, it's intensified aerial surveillance over the entire northeast, as well as offensive missions around the Greenbelt region near Niger and Chad republics. The federal government team on a tour of the Northeast military operation has joined the Nigerian Air Force on a flight around the Sambisa Forest General Area. The group, which comprises the Ministers of Defense and Information, journalists and the Bring Back Our Girls group, joined the day operations to the Sambisa Forest in search of fleeing abductees and terrorists who are also on the run following the recapture of Camp Zairo. At the pre-operation briefing, the air officer commanding the operation, Air Vice Marshal Nuruddin Balogun, told the group that some abductees had been sighted between January the 7th and the 12th. Some of them have been rescued and handed over to the appropriate authorities. On his part, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, explained the difficulties in the search and rescue efforts of the Air Force, part of which is encountering terrorists disguised as women. In part 2, after the break, INEC says it's in receipt of over 60 applications for new political parties to be registered. That's in a moment. Do join us again.